Welcome to Frankly Speaking Hurricanes Football with your host, Frank Mazdu. Welcome, everybody, to Frankly Speaking Canes Football. I'm honored to have Ray with me again today, and we're going to go over this recruiting class of 2022, the early signing period. And Ray's got some exciting news to bring to us. And I want to go ahead and introduce Ray. Ray, say hi to everybody. And don't forget to hit the like button. Go you. Subscribe, share, and get us up there and hit the likes, please. And comments below. You're going to get a lot of information from us in this particular video. So please write the comments below because we will respond to them. Go ahead, Ray. Share with us what you got, buddy.
Okay, so a couple of things have transpired recently. Obviously, Urban Meyer was fired. This affects college because the coaching carousel that's going on right now. So who's going to be the new head coach? Who's going to be the new offensive coordinator? Obviously, Darrell Bevell took over, but does Ken Dorsey get a look here instead of coming to Miami? Would Bill O'Brien possibly get a look as a head coach in Jacksonville? If so, now what does Saban do? Does Saban go after somebody that we'd be interested in? Who's going to be his new offensive coordinator? Does that affect Ken Dorsey or somebody else? Tom Herman looks like he may be headed to LSU. Brian Kelly might be hiring Tom Herman as the new offensive coordinator. There's a lot of smoke and rumors going on about that. So let's see what happens in the next couple of days. Quickly regarding Joe Brady, Mario wanted a 3-year commitment out of him. There was issues over autonomy because Mario does not want to give up total autonomy on offense or defense. There was some recruiting stipulations he wanted. And I think that's why that situation kind of fell apart. And now Brady might just kind of stay in the NFL. Potential guys for OC, Kendall Briles is a name that's been up a lot. He's the current offensive coordinator at Arkansas. He's put up good numbers in the toughest division in college football, the SEC East. Ken Dorsey is a name. He's the pass game coordinator at the Bills. He's also the QB coach. Dan Mullen is a name that is floating around too as a possibility. Can you imagine him coming here calling plays with Mario? Defensive coordinator potentials, Derek Mason, the former head coach at Vandy from 2014 to 2020. He's the current DC at Auburn. He's a good recruiter. He's got the 33rd best defense in the nation right now, giving up 22.2 a game. Only Ole Miss and UGA scored over 30. That wouldn't be the worst decision in the world. Chris Partridge, the current co-DC and safeties coach at Ole Miss. He was the former director of player personnel at Michigan. Then he coached special teams and linebacker. He's a strong recruiter. He really improved Ole Miss defense this past season. They went from giving up 519 and 38 to 428 and 25 points per game. Charlie Strong is a name. Muschamp's a name. But right now, Muschamp's going to be he's the new co-DC on the field for the bowl game for Georgia. So he might get elevated now that Lanning is left for Oregon. He might bring Schumann with him there. So he might stay there. Okay, so in terms of what we did yesterday, we had a really good average score of 91.65. This puts us behind only UNC and Clemson. UNC's got the number 8 class right now and in the nation, and Clemson's number 17. Now we're still hovering in the 60s. I think we're going to creep up after Mario. Mario wants to get about 16 to 20 kids in this class. But let's start out with who we got. Nigel E. Kelly is a 4-star edge player out of Dillard, top-rated recruit Miami has this year, number 81 nationally. Very good explosive player, played against great competition. He wasn't feeling Manny's vibe from what I got from my sources, and now that Mario's here, he's with us. Besaint, the linebacker from Central, is a 4-star kid, 3rd highest rated recruit we have. He's 2-time first team All-Dade, and they won back-to-back state titles, as you know, Frank. He had offers from Bama, Florida, Florida State, Michigan State. He chose us. He's long and fast, tremendous contact player, and has potential to be a great pro. Chris Graves, a cornerback out of Fort Myers. He's going to be something special and something to watch right away. He could come in and start. And this plays a role because Tyreek Stevenson supposedly coming back. Kamari Rogers has come in. I want to go back and talk about Graves because I think he's going to come in and start if he comes here, unless Marcus Banks chooses to come to Miami, the Alabama transfer. If he comes in, he's going to start. But I really believe that Graves has the potential to come in and start right away. Ja'Cory Brown, 4-star quarterback, do everything quarterback, dual threat, number 5 dual threat quarterback in the country, 2-time All-State 7A in Georgia. A lot of people are saying if he puts it all together, that he could really, really be a great professional and a great college quarterback because he has all the tools, the size, and so on. He was getting offers from Florida, Auburn, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. Kamari Rogers, he had an ACL tear But he was a number 2 player in Mississippi. He's the second highest rated recruit we have. He's very good cover skills. He locked down a bunch of big names at the Miami 7-on-7 gig that they had recently this year. He was getting offers from Michigan, Tennessee, Notre Dame. If he bounces back, he's going to be a player to watch. Jaden Harris is a 3-star kid from Atlanta. He's a cornerback. Markeith Williams is probably going to be a safety. He's another kid that's going to come in. He's a 4-star kid. He's a monster. I mean, he really is a guy that flies around, kind of like James Williams does. Now we have a crowded secondary room, especially at safety. That safety room is something special right now. We're excited about him. He got offers from Florida, Florida State, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. If that tells you what kind of bracket he's in. Isaiah Horton is a kid that's a big, tall kid. He's going to be a good player, we think. He's from Tennessee. He's got to put some weight on, and Miami needs more kids like this, where they're 6'3", 200 pounds, and if he fills in right, he'll be a good player for us. In terms of like flips, we lost Flip Carswell to Ole Miss. Even though Garen Justice was in his ear to say, hey, come play for Coach Mirabal, Coach Mario, Cristobal. These are O-line guys. You'll do well, but he went to Ole Miss. Landon Ibieta obviously flipped to LSU, wide receiver from Louisiana, got a late offer and he went. Close misses. Julian Armella, the 4-star offensive tackle from STA. Mario and Alex Mirabal really got in his head because he pushed off a morning announcement to the evening. And he was actually thinking about it. But I think that FSU said, hey, we need you to come in and announce because we got to stop this bleeding because Florida State really had a bad day throughout the day. They lost the #1 recruit in the nation to Jackson State and Deion Sanders, which is, yeah, it's kind of crazy. So, we missed on him, but it's okay. A couple of notes about Mario's press conference, gleaning from the press conference, which I think you're going to cover. If you notice, if we watch it, you'll probably see that Besant and Graves may be the ones that he values are the most important recruits in the class. We don't have any O-line kids that committed yesterday. So I think they're going to really hit that hard in terms of decommits, the portal, and kids who may be on the fence. And I think he also made hints at Cyrus Moss and Kevin Coleman, talking about an edge player and an electric player that could take a 3-yard hitch and go 60 yards. As far as kids that are on the fence right now, Jaleel Skinner, some people feel good about the chances of Miami. I'm still saying that he's going, based on what I know, to Alabama. He's going to announce Friday. I guess we're going to wait and see. Shamar Stewart, I revised my guess just before the show because I talked to Kevin Brockman. He was telling me that he's about an 80-20 Miami. And just yesterday, I thought it was going to be Texas A&M all the way. So they have a great class. Texas A&M's class, especially on defense and the defensive front, is unreal. They have the #1 ranked class in the country. Would an NIL to Jackson State come into play here for Shamar Stewart?
Yes.
I mean, it could. You never know. These things are going to. This has changed college football, in my opinion, and I can't wait to talk to you about that when we do it. Kevin Coleman, pretty strong Miami position right now for him. If Coach McClendon, which his deal to Miami is not solidified right now because Dan Lanning and Kenny Dillingham, who just went to Oregon from FNCU. Remember, Dillingham was the offensive coordinator. Now he's at Oregon.
Right.
They're going to try really hard to keep Kevin Coleman in Oregon. They want Kevin Coleman in Oregon. So if McClendon doesn't come to Miami and doesn't sign and he stays at Oregon, that will hurt our chances to land him. But we really need him. I think he's an exciting player with the potential to be an all-pro. So I look forward to his decision. He's going to sign with the school of his choice, and he's going to announce at the All-American game.
Right.
Which is interesting. Cyrus Moss, I know you've talked about him, and I know you like him a lot. Big kid, 6'6", 220, with the potential to put on a Greg Rousseau-esque type physique.
Oh, yeah.
He's also going to supposedly sign on Friday and then keep it silent to the All-American game. Miami's definitely a factor. And Bubba Bolden and Brevin Jordan are in his ear, telling him that since the new coaching change has been made, that Miami's the place. This is from information that I have obtained. Jason Jones is a DT at Oregon, but he actually flipped. Okay, Oregon flipped this guy on signing day from Alabama to Oregon, and he's from Alabama. He was committed to Alabama. They flipped him. He's a rotational defensive tackle. He had 145 snaps this year at Oregon, a big guy, 6'6", 320. I know Mario alluded to him being one of the biggest people he's ever seen. And Marcus Banks, as we talked about earlier, he's in the mix. If Miami's not the leader, he's in the mix. Houston's made a late push. University of Houston has made a late push on him, from what I gathered today. It's interesting to see what happens with Marcus Banks. If he comes in, he's going to start. But I wouldn't be surprised if, for some reason, Houston got the sign with Marcus Banks. But I do think that Miami is still a major player. University of Texas, the NIL thing that you're talking about, which we'll get into, is just kind of crazy. The way college football is going. But like you said, it's been going on forever. It's just a different name now, right? Jackson State picking up Travis Hunter. They also have Mark Pope.
Mhm.
Does Travis Hunter going to Jackson State affect his draft positioning and draft appeal, playing against lesser competition? And also this is something that I think Deion not getting enough credit for. He's playing kind of 4D chess here. He's saying, hey, I can get whatever recruit I want. Why didn't you hire me instead of Norvell? And why won't I be the next head coach of Florida State when you know that I can do this?
Ray, you just hit the nail on the head. That was a really profound statement. I think what Deion is doing is he's setting himself up for a major job, whether it's Florida State or a Power 5 program. He won't be there long. He won't be there a year, and that kid will transfer with him. I mean, that's going to he's not going to be there. Yeah. He's had success there for 3 years. He's done his time. He's ready to move up, and Florida State will kick themselves. I don't know if you know, but they were burning effigies of his memorabilia in the parking lot. So, which is crazy because you forget about what the guy did for you. And just because he took a kid, the number one kid, they wanted to go over there. It was crazy. But I agree with you. You hit the nail on the head. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I think it's going to happen too. And he's just positioning himself. So, well, that's pretty much what I've got now in terms of the recruits.
That's a great update.
On the fence, and I think that will be exciting to see. Remember, the period doesn't end until tomorrow. So we could see some signatures tomorrow and some silence that will sign and then give up their schools at the All-American game. So
that's fantastic. What a great wrap up, Ray. That's awesome. That's great information. I'm hearing the same things you're hearing. The kid Skinner, the tight end that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Now I heard, I don't know if this is true, that Alabama has a spoken, not just unspoken, but a spoken rule of thumb that you're not to take, if you're a commit for Alabama, you're not to take visits to other schools. And he spent his last weekend in Miami, the tight end.
Yes, he did.
So I think that, and I know that they took a tight end or two in this class at Alabama. I'm wondering, they took two. Yeah. So I'm wondering if his options are now, if he burned that bridge, that was one of the big issues. So I'm looking forward to seeing him come to Miami. But I agree with you. I think we're also going to see that kid you were talking about from Oregon, the 6'3" or 6'5"
Jason Jones.
Yeah, I think he's going to be in the portal, or he's in the portal, correct?
Yes, he is.
So I think he's going to be probably coming to Miami. We need some help there. But on the offensive line stuff, you're right. And what we're going to do is we're going to get into a brief segments of what's going on with this NIL and how they're doing it. And there was a response from us, a Florida response, the day of the signing day that went to the legislature. So it's very interesting. So let me share the screen real quickly. I want to go with how the Horns with Heart plans to pay Texas offensive linemen. This will be brief. I think it's we'll cut out if it takes too long, but this will give us an idea of what we're competing against, because these guys, they took the big boys, and that's what we need. We need the big offensive linemen. So let's see how
helping college athletes capitalize on their true value. And you might have heard about a program that's going to wind up through charitable venues, paying college athletes, specifically Texas offensive linemen, $50,000 a year. To explain how this works and why it's in the interest of the students, and of course there are critics about this, we have Rob Blair, Horns with Heart co-founder and president, along with our sports guru, Josh Schaefer. First, let me start with you, Rob. Very first question for you. Where did you come up with the idea to do it? Because essentially everyone on the team is going to be rewarded for their ability now, right?
That's definitely our goal, not just for their ability, but for their name, image, and their likeness. We think, especially at the University of Texas in Austin, really only having the one professional sports team that, these guys are local celebrities, and being able to put that name, image, and likeness, rule into effect is crucial for what we're, aiming to do and making a positive impact in our community.
So, Rob, my understanding is the Texas offensive linemen here are going to be doing charitable acts and kind of promoting charities in order to kind of earn their keep in this part of the thing, right? How does that work? What are they exactly are they going to be doing? And if you guys talked to any charities yet about partnering with them, what's that going to look like?
Yeah, absolutely. That's our goal. We've talked to many charities, but something that's really kind of near and dear to our hearts is doing what's important for the offensive line that we're going to be sponsoring. What causes are near and dear to their heart, whether it be in the Austin, local Austin community or their communities that they grew up in. What we want to do is we want to make a positive impact. And we want to help out these charities, so they'll be expected to make charitable appearances, whether that be, say, for instance, as an example, we partner with Habitat for Humanity. I mean, who wouldn't want to, but 14 big offensive linemen building the house, building the house for them. So, it'll all be going back to the community, as well as there will be financial donations from Horns with the Heart to the charitable organizations that we partner with as well.
Have you guys talked to any of the offensive linemen on the Texas program yet? And how is the communication going to work between Horns with Heart and the team?
Yeah, so we're able to talk with all the offensive linemen. Per NIL rules, we're allowed to speak to them in the same manner as any kind of ad agency would be able to talk to, a contract employee. Is kind of how that relationship works. So we've talked to a majority of them. Obviously it's a very big positive for them. A lot of people think, with these athletes that they see the glitz, the glamour, they see what happens on Saturday, but they're putting in the blood, sweat, and tears, more often than you think. And being able to make a difference where these guys are busy at practice, they don't have time to go out and get a second job. And just because everybody sees NFL and now with the NIL rules, players are getting paid. They think that they're making all this kind of money, but in reality, they really did not make anything on the NIL last year. So be able to do something this and help affect change for them as well as their family, as well as giving back and giving that positive aspect to the community. It's a win-win-win for everybody.
Rob, this is Emily here. What precedent do you think this program sets for college athletics, or what precedent would you want this to set?
The second part of your question was perfect. What precedent do we want it to set? We hope this changes everything. Being able to, for my opinion, this is one of the first NIL deals that's not completely self-serving. We're all of our members of the board, we're working entirely pro bono. We're not receiving a single dime. All of the money that's donated to us is going directly to the charities, as well as the athletes themselves. And we hope that that's boilerplate across NIL landscape. Even if A&M goes out and copies our idea tomorrow, we'll be congratulating them because that means they're going to be, hopefully doing a positive impact in their community instead of, what a lot of people thought NIL was going to be, which was, kids marketing T-shirts and going on podcasts and tweeting stuff out. This is an actual positive effect. And if we can make a 1% difference in making the world a better place through college athletics, I mean, that's perfect. That's exactly what the world needs, I think.
Rob, as a donor yourself and someone that's interested in college athletics donations, do you think this might shift the paradigm of where donors look to give back to the athletics department instead of maybe going through the front door and giving directly to the university? Do you think we're going to see more people looking to do something like this?
It's tough to answer that because it really depends on the donor themselves and what they're passionate about. Everybody has a kind of a stereotype of the big money donor, especially the Texas big money donor, thinking, oh, they only care about football. But women's sports are extremely a big passion of ours that we're looking to target in the near future. And it really just depends on what you're looking for. The money will always be there. Depending on what you want to get involved in. And really it's all about affecting change and wherever that.
Okay. I wanted to get your comments, Ray, on that. You're looking at about $600,000, about $50,000. You got 11 or 12 offensive linemen that it's going to go. So that's a big chunk of change. Now I'm all for the kids getting paid. I think they need to get paid. I just find it really interesting that they're able to do this before anybody else is and get the leverage on signing day. But I wanted to get your thoughts on what you just heard.
A couple of things to me. Well, first of all, Texas has always been a pioneer in big things like this. And to me, I do think the kids need to get paid. They need to get something. I heard a story yesterday about a player at, I think it was LSU, I forgot the name, but he would go to play in these games and he would see all these people there and his jersey would be in the bookstore with his name on it. And he would go back to his dorm and there'd be no food there. So, you know, look, these kids, they're generating billions of dollars. They need to get paid for something. I'm totally on board with that. And this is coming from somebody who loves the amateur, the amateurness of college athletics, and it differentiates from the professional, more corporate of the NFL, et cetera, et cetera. I'm a fan of it. This to me sounds like a loophole to basically put lipstick on a pig. We know that it's out there. We know this is like taking the place of what the bag game is on the street, or enhancing the bag game. Because, you know, some kids, the higher profile kids, are going to get more than just what this is being announced as. And why is it only for offensive linemen? If it's only because they want the best kids to come here now to get the trenches shored up, so they can make sure they can build skilled people around those talented offensive linemen, it can be brilliant to do it this way. Because one thing for sure Texas needs, and for some reason, I don't know why Texas has not been winning more games or a higher percentage of games with the pool of players that they have in that state. It could be because they're missing toughness up front. You wouldn't think that, but their record kind of speaks for itself. When's the last time you remember Texas doing anything on a major scene, just like, you know, University of Miami? But when do you remember them after Vince Coleman really doing anything? After Vince Taylor really doing anything on a national scene? I think this is smart. I think it's going to work. I think it's going to bring kids in. I'm not hating on it. It's making it look really pretty. And you know what? If it's great for the community because the kids give back, that's great. But this is really, let's call it what it is. This is a way to get recruits to come here and funnel them cash.
Absolutely.
So I like the video. I like the fact that they're making it look pretty. But let's not stray away from the fact that this is a way to get money to kids who deserve it, but to make it look really nice. What are your thoughts on it?
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that the reason for the offensive lineman, as it was stated a couple of days ago, I don't have the video on it, but I heard it, was because with the NIL program, your quarterbacks, your running backs, your DBs, your wide receivers, the flash, they're getting their deals cut because they're the glamour guys. And then the guys in the trenches, like the O-line, because he didn't talk about D-line. I suspect they're going to do something for D-line as well, but he talked about the O-line, which makes a lot of sense because you're not going to have a bunch of car dealerships lined up to do a deal with an offensive lineman, because that's kind of a more subjective, and not a superstar, what we would tend to think is a superstar. But anyway, I agree with you on all your points. I think that what we're going to hear now, and I'm going to queue up for you here with Jimbo Fisher, is interesting because basically you're going to hear what sounds like an admission that they've been paying these kids, under the table for years. And with this, and so I'm going to put that up, but it goes to the point that we here at Miami, we have to do something similar to this. And these guys just dropped, I think they're dropping $100 million into their program at Texas. And now that we've got some major boosters and people on the BOD, they're going to have to look at the program with a serious eye, because if you don't compete, and it's going to shift the power. It's going to shift the power away from the NCAA. It's going to take it away to the states, because see, they're operating under state law. These laws are state law. So the NCAA can't come after them, okay, for any kind of violations or anything like that, because they're operating under state law. So it's really
they're coming after us. They're coming after Miami, but they're not going after Texas, giving $50K to all linemen, but they're coming after us for giving somebody $600.
Yeah, no, Ray, that's a whole nother show. You're 100% right. And I think it's amazing. What you just said is amazing. They're going after the deal with De'Aaron King and the deal that he made with the Florida Panthers. So the legislation is going in Florida. It went in. That's going to go through. But I think the NCAA is gone as far as a regulatory body for sports, because now the universities can work directly with the states, cut out the middleman, because they're funded by the universities. Yes. So the people that are going to be in charge are going to be basically the SEC, the ACC, the conferences. Mm-hmm. The conferences are going to hold the control and regulate themselves. I see that coming real quick. But let me put this on, because you're going to get a kick out of this from Jimbo. Because one thing I love about Jimbo, he got a great recruiting class, but he's honest. Lane Kiffin was honest. They came out and Lane Kiffin even said it. This has been going on for years. Now it's coming to the light. So, but if it's been going on for years, then why is it that only Miami is always under scrutiny and always under investigation? And I mean, that's something I find very interesting.
Well, it's because it's us against the world. Even after Nigel E. Kelly committed, they dropped him from a 5-star to a 4-star.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah, right.
this is not the first time this has happened. This has happened at least 20 times.
Right. They did it to Coleman also.
They did it to Coleman.
They did it to Coleman, a 5-star. Then this is 24/7 who did it, which is amazing. And then what they did was they raised when Notre Dame offered, I forget who they offered, they raised them from a 3-star to a 4-star. So it's crazy. Well, let me put this one on and I'll get your thoughts on this. This is pretty interesting here too. Let's see if we can get this one going here. Here we go.
Can't say I'm going to get you an NIL. I'm going to get you. You can't promise things. You can't say I'm going to get you an NIL deal. And that's illegal. I mean, all you can do is present what other players in your university have done in the past. That is all you're allowed to do. But there was a lot of NIL deals going on before all this was going on. They just weren't legal. No one told nobody. I mean, all that stuff is gone. Now we got a part of it, but at the same time, that's where you're at in today's time. At least it makes it out there, and it is legal. Guys can get compensated. But I think it's enticing in recruiting. I think it's very dangerous in that way. But I mean, you got to enforce the rules when they're broken. You got to handle that part of it.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So then the last thing I want to show you here also is here it is, the new bill. New Florida bill would allow schools to facilitate NIL deals, and Lamarca, the state representative, basically put it in on signing day. So I think we're going to see some movement very quickly in Florida so that we can combat that. And then the last thing I just want to play, your evaluation was outstanding, by the way, on all the players that we picked up, the 8 players, the recruits that we picked up that are new Canes. But I just want to share briefly for those who did not see Mario's press conference. I'm going to put that on for a couple minutes just to share that with them. Okay, we'll put that here. And let's see.
County. Those that have watched him play know he's an instant difference maker for us. The top defensive player to sign today from Dade County. Those that have watched him play know he's an instant difference maker for us. Long, rangy, explosive, physical, instinctive, knockback tackler, extremely effective in the pass game as well. He's coached by Roland Smith, so he's going to be ready to play, right? That mentality, that hard-nosed approach to football and discipline carries a lot of value. In the top 300 ESPN, top 240 to 247 player as well, playing for his third state title. A lot to be said about a guy who's a captain of a team playing for a third title. And I can't say enough about him, getting a chance to meet his family, his coaches, great support system. He really embodies what Dade County football is all about. So it just arriving in a situation like this where you need depth at that position, you need guys to come in and make an impact right away. We see him as an impact player that could certainly make a difference right away, and we're going to make sure that we get him ready to do so. Okay.
Frank, if you don't mind, I think if you want to pause it for just 1 second, I'm not going to have you pause again, but I think he led with Besaint because he looked at the roster, he did an analysis of the roster with his staff, and he knows that our linebackers just weren't good enough, and he knows the impact that this kid's going to be having on the program. And if you notice how cool, calm, and collected Mario always is when he talks, he doesn't say things just to say them. He's always has a good cadence to the way he talks. I think this is so much more of an improvement to the program as him as head coach, just by his behavior, his demeanor, his cool, calm, his confidence. I really like the way he describes the kids in this interview. I can't wait to see the rest of it. But I think he led with Besaint knowing.
Yes, you did. You're 100% right. Raymond, let me ask you, because now that you mentioned that, I think that Besaint is first game starter. I think you're going to see him immediately in the starting lineup. I really do. He's at 210 pounds at 6'1". He's quick. He's rangy. From what I heard, he's a 3-down player. He can cover. He's not just a 2-down player. And I think you're going to see him start. But I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Well, listen, obviously the college season is really grueling on the body. Obviously, if he comes in and gets in the strength program now, and he starts training hard now, I believe he could probably get up to around 220, 222, maybe 225, at least 220, right? And Is he going to play middle linebacker at 220? Who's going to beat him out?
Right.
Who is going to beat him out? Jennings is gone. He wasn't going to beat him out. I don't know if Austin Cavay can play that position. I don't know if Corey Flagg can play the position as well as this kid can. I think he's a killer. I think he's the best, middle linebacker prospect maybe we've had since maybe Sean Spence. Perriman obviously is a thriving NFL player, but this kid really is somebody who I think will come in and I think you're right. I think he'll start day one. Maybe it won't be middle linebacker. Maybe it'll be strong side linebacker, or maybe weak side linebacker. I don't know. Actually, if we have Keontra Smith, a weak side linebacker, put him middle linebacker, and then we have Christian Smith backing one of them two up, or at a striker position. I don't know. There's a lot of kids to play with now. There's a lot of players to play with at the striker position.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about who might play striker this coming year?
Chase.
Yeah, I was going to say Chase will play striker. We'll have Basaint in middle, and then put Keontra Smith in the boundary.
That would be it.
I think that's formidable.
Yeah, that would be very, because they're all hitters and they're all quick. The problem with Flag's got heart. He doesn't have the lateral movement. From hash to hash, he's not quick enough. And that's the problem. And he's a little undersized, which is another issue. But
he's a thick kid, but he's not. Yeah, he's not big.
But I wanted to ask you another question, Ray.
Sure.
I've also heard rumors that Justin Flo, the kid that we lost last year, may be entering the portal or is in the portal. And there's another kid out of Maryland that we lost that was a top linebacker that's possibly looking to come back. That was a 5-star. These are 2 5-star linebackers.
Are you talking about Terrence Smith?
Yes, Terrence Smith. Talk to me a little bit about him, because I have very little knowledge on him.
Okay, so Terrence Smith obviously he was a highly touted recruit. If we land him, he's going to come in. He's going to play. He's going to play right away. If we get either one of them two, they're going to come in and play right away. If we were to land both of them, then I think we would have the closest thing we have to a Barrow, Jesse Armstead, and Ray Lewis situation.
Wow.
If you think about it, with the way they were touted as recruit, Justin Flo, obviously, there's smoke. There's definitely smoke. I think I sent you a graphic the other day where the prediction was that Terrence Smith was going to come to Miami.
That's right. That's where I got it. You sent it to me. That's correct. That's right.
I'm going to try to get some more information on that. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things right now that are being kept under wraps. Mario's doing a fantastic job of playing kind of cloak and dagger, especially with the coaching staff. And he's doing that, from what I understand, to kind of throw the scent off the trail of other programs who may be interested in some of the same people that we are. So I would say that Terrence Smith, Justin Flo, who's an absolute beast, squatting like almost 600 pounds or 550 pounds in high school. Hey, anything can happen at this point. That's why I was getting to and alluding to Mario's presence. You give this guy one full recruiting cycle, I think it's going to be immeasurable what he's going to be able to bring into the University of Miami once he has his full staff intact, and just his charisma and his experience, the way he delivers, the way he commands a room, and the way he's learned things from Alabama and his time at the helm at Oregon. I really believe, Frank, that this man is going to change the program along with the influx of money. Now, the one thing I wanted to ask you and get your thoughts on, do you feel like the integrity of college football has just plummeted because of this NIL situation? And do you feel like it's not going to be the same, where kids are going to come in? It's almost going to be like a perpetual free agent situation where, hey, if I'm not happy here, I'm just going to get in the portal, I'm gone. Like there's no more, like the appeal of signing day, of National Signing Day, letter of intent day. Do you think it's lost a little luster now because of the portal and because of the NIL deals?
No, I think what's happening, like any great change or sea change that's happening, you're going to have, the college football has always been the farm teams for the NFL, with no pay. And I think what's going to happen is, as the money flows in here, it's going to be more of a semi-pro or professional. It's going to be a semi-pro league, basically, because you're going to have kids that are going to take things more seriously. Because granted, however they design these flows of income, they're going to be predicated on performance. Okay. Right. So these kids are going to have to come in and become dedicated to their craft. But I do think that it's going to impact the league in several ways. Number one, the integrity. It's not going to tarnish the integrity, because they've been doing these backdoor deals for years. Now it's going to be exposed in the light, and if anything, it will even out the playing field. However, the issue is going to come that you're going to have coastal cities. You have Miami, you have California, you have Texas, you have Georgia, you have states that have money, that have programs, that you have Alabama, you have Michigan, you have Ohio, that are going to continue to dominate because the funds are there. And I'll tell you what, if I was the NFL, I'd be worried because it's going to draw even more interest, and the ratings are going to go through the roof. And what it's going to do, it's going to enable coaches to immediately turn a program around in maybe 2 years or 1 year, whereas normally it would take them 3 to 4 recruiting classes to get the program and the culture changed. But I think, Raymond, to your point, what's going to be more important is your field, strength and conditioning, the field that you're in, because now when these kids come in, they're going to have to be ready to play very quickly. So they're going to have to be dedicated to their craft. And strength and conditioning is it's always been critical, and nutrition and important, but it's even going to be more critical now because you're going to have kids that are, basically they've got to stay on the field. That's another thing that's going to happen. If you're not on the field, I don't care how good you are, you're not available. The next guy up, if he does a good job, you may not be able to get back on the field no matter how good you are. And you may
also, that's a great point you just made, because not only are you gonna have to worry about the guys behind you, you got to worry about the guys that might be in the portal that potentially could come in and beat you out.
Absolutely.
And I do think that this does raise the level of play of everybody, because you could be out at any time. It does professionalize college football a little bit more in terms of pressure and structure. So I mean, I think that the game is going to change. Like you said, that the impetus for change was needed. And I think you did hit the nail on the head that, listen, this is going to be a revolutionized farm system, so to speak, for the NFL. And you're going to have to come in ready to play, and strength and conditioning is going to play a huge role. I'm so excited for Coach Feld to bring his game down here for Miami, because he's probably 79% lucid and maybe 30 to 21% not all there in a good way, which I think is going to really impact the kids. You got to have that fire in the weight room. The heck has to be jumping and bumping all day, every day with excitement, getting ready to work. And I know Mario is going to make sure that people are working. He's going to hold them accountable. That's probably the best attribute he's going to have, besides being the best recruiter. Frank, I really do believe that we're going to see a big change. I don't know if you've been keeping up with John Ruiz and his antics lately. He's been flying over Tropical Park in a helicopter, looking for with Diana Diaz from Channel 7 News to see where the ideal place is to build a stadium. And we talked about this last time. It can't be in Coral Gables, not on Lejeune and US 1 and Bird Road, but Tropical Park is looking like we could actually have a stadium there maybe in 2 or 3 years, who knows, but they're really pushing hard for it. And talk about boosters from Texas. I think that we've opened up a can of Miami money now. And once we see a successful season, if Mario wins 10 games next year, I think that it's going to change the landscape of how much money comes into this program. And Miami being Miami, I think the NIL deals here could be some, if not the best in the country for potential recruits. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But let's go ahead and watch Mario for the rest of the press conference, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely. But before we go to that, you made a good point as far as the NIL, and I wanted to address that. The money that's coming in, and I've got to ask you, because you made a great point. I look at the schedule next year. You've got Texas A&M and you've got Clemson. Okay. After that, every game, the remaining games on the schedule, there's not really a challenge other than FSU. So, I mean, unless I'm missing something. So,
well, we always say that, right? We say that.
Yeah, we do.
Every year I've got WWW all the way down the list, even Florida State. Then we lose to Georgia Tech, and then we lose to Carolina, and then we lose to, somebody we shouldn't.
No, I agree.
Look, Pittsburgh hasn't beaten us, but maybe twice in the last 30 years, it seems like. So, but with Clemson and Texas A&M,
North Carolina,
I'm gonna really have to go into the lab on Texas A&M and see what they have on offense, because I know on defense they're going to be an animal. Clemson, one of the things they did get was the highest rated QB in the class.
Mm-hmm.
They got a 5-star QB. They're going to be a good football team. It's at their place. That place is going to be jamming. I was there during the COVID game when we got beat pretty good. So many self-inflicted wounds that game. Have you noticed that we probably lead the nation in self-inflicted wounds almost every game? I wonder if that was a product under Manny's regime, because it was still there under Al. It was there under Manny. I don't think it's going to be as noticeable under Mario. I just have an intuition. I just think he's going to be holding the kids more accountable for being crisper, more precise. So let's see what happens with that. But yeah, you're like, I look at the schedule next year. If we can get by Texas A&M in game 3 on the road, if we can get by Clemson, I mean, that's playoffs written all over with the offensive kids we have returning. If Zion comes back, if Stace comes back, I really think that we can make some waves. I think Mario's walking into a good situation, Frank. What do you think?
I do too. I think the difference between next year and the years before is that if he keeps the same offensive structure in place, we have something we haven't had since Ken Dorsey. We have a franchise quarterback, and let's call it what it is. Each one of these universities, they're a franchise, and it's like the NFL. If you don't have your franchise quarterback, you can't compete. And I also believe that he's going to light it up. And I think that I think he's going to be able to do some great things, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut because, to your point, Raymond, you're 100% right. Every year we say, okay, it's FSU as a challenge, maybe North Carolina, and we should win everything else. And it doesn't materialize. Now, this year, I think the difference is we got two big differences is Mario, and we've got the quarterback. Now, we'll see what happens, but I'm with you. I'm just going to keep it. Now, I do tell you, I would be stunned, and I'm a huge Kane supporter and fan. I love the team, love the history, love the culture, but I would be stunned if we're able to beat Texas A&M. Remember, they beat Alabama this year, a really good Alabama team. Clemson, it's at their house, and there's going to be some change. And by the way, that kid, their quarterback, who was a 5-star, I forget his name now, he's going to be in the portal tomorrow. I
call him ukulele. I call him ukulele because I just don't know.
Exactly.
But great point. Look, Frank, one last thing here is this. I don't think people know how close we were to having a miraculously better season than we had last year. Yeah. If you pay attention, and this is a credit to Manny Diaz, as much as we want to say he did this wrong and he didn't do this, he had us on the cusp outside of the Alabama game. He had us on the cusp of winning games that we should have won that we lost by very small margins. So we were so close, despite of all the sloppy play and all the false starts and unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. We were on the cusp of winning 9 games, 10 games. I wonder what it would have been like if we beat Florida State. Do you think that Manny would still be here? Will we be talking about the things we're talking about right now?
Well, Raymond, the way I see it, Ray, is I'll be honest with you. I don't think you would have gotten the Reese money. I don't think you would have gotten the booster money. I think they would have been, if he had got 10 wins and they didn't feel compelled to do a coaching search, we would still be in mediocrity. Manny, he's a decent and a good coach. He's going to be a great coach, in my opinion, someday. But what the biggest thing wasn't, don't get me wrong, it's huge that we got Mario. The biggest thing wasn't getting Mario. The biggest thing was the culture change in the administrative hex center and in the offices where they decided, hey, we got to pay our coach $8 million a year. That's a sea change because you never go back from there. You can never go back and hire another coach for $4 million or $3 million. So I don't think I don't think that would have happened. That would not have happened with Manny. That would not have happened with Manny. So the fact that he's got a Columbus background, he's a Miami guy, the Reese people, and I forget, apparently there's 2 guys in there that are big, heavy duty money guys. I don't think that the investment in the program would have come. Mario was the catalyst that they needed, but they had to pony up the money to get into this poker game. It was no more dollar chip game. To pay in this game, you had to come in with, $100,000 chips, and they finally did it. So I think that's the biggest blessing. They brought some assassins. They brought Mario. They brought Dan Radakovich. They brought some assassins. You're 100% right. And Dan, we cannot diminish. And I want you to speak to this because you talked about this and you're wired into this. The hiring of Dan, and I don't want to botch his last name, the guy from Clemson. Please give us a couple minutes about that, because that is what, because he's going to deal with the NIL. He's the guy that's going to have to deal with all of this. So go ahead, give us your thoughts.
So vice president of football operations.
Yes.
When have you ever heard that from an athletic director? That means that they're treating this, like you said, like a franchise, like a true organization. And because of the amount of money that the program generates, both from TV revenue and conference revenue sharing and brand recognition, they needed to go this route. So Dan Radakovich is a Miami grad. He spent what, 10 years, 11 years at Clemson, and won 3 national titles, or was in at least 3 championship games, won countless ACC titles when he was there, elevated the football program tremendously. He's going to do the same thing here. The guy knows how to win big boy football against the best, against SEC teams, against everybody that got in his way, that kind of, especially, the conference, the ACC as a whole, the conference. Okay, people talk a lot of smack about the ACC, Frank, but the ACC puts out just as many and sometimes more NFL players than the SEC does. We don't lack talent in the ACC. It's just kind of placed in just like 3 or 4 programs across the board. I think Radakovich is going to come in and work together with Mario, and we still don't know anybody else that may be hired. Is Alonzo Highsmith out totally? Is Gino Torretta out totally? What's Ed Reed going to do? I just think that, like you said, to just emphasize your point, bringing in Dan, who's a killer, who understands what needs to be done to win big boy football. He understands money. He understands what the kids were getting at Clemson. You put that together with Mario, and like you said, the seek change inside the athletic department, getting rid of Blake James, who, again, great guy, good face of the program, can raise money, but can he make tough decisions? He didn't really show that he can make the good, smart decisions that were needed to be made in order for this program to ascend. So now you have a guy who comes in and probably won't hesitate to get rid of somebody or put pressure on someone like Mario or somebody else on the staff that, hey, listen, you got to pick it up, because if you're not doing what we need you to do at these salaries, then we got to make a change. So I like the fact that you brought up a seat change, because now the thinking is in the HECT, we can't go back on this. We just paid Mario $8 million. We can't bring in some Joe Schmo and pay him $6 million the next time. So now they just elevated what the position of head coach at Miami is for the next person, if there is a next person over the next. Hopefully there won't be another guy for 4 years, because if Mario wins like we think he's going to win, Frank, we know what happens to Miami football coaches if they win. Jimmy Johnson and Dennis Erickson, they're at least going to go try to get some gig in the NFL, right? Because they're going to be
Ray. That's also sea change. Why would you? If you're making $8 million now a year, you do it for 4 years or 5 years, you get a contract extension. They're making more money than NFL coaches.
Yeah, you're right. Why would they go to the NFL? Well, look what happened to Urban Meyer. I mean, he's gone.
He's gone. Yeah.
And now,
I don't see them going to the NFL. I think Mario is in a unique position where if he builds a dynasty, and as young as he is, he could be, and again, he could be like Bowden. He could be here at FS, like Bowden was at FSU till he's in his late 60s.
He's home. Yeah. He's in the 305.
That's right.
His family's here. His roots are here. His buddies are here. His body and soul is from here. Yeah. I agree with you. I think he could be the Bobby Bowden of Miami and be here till he's in mid-60s. Or even 70 if he wins. I don't think a guy like Mario, now that you brought it up, would even entertain the NFL unless they're going to pay him. How much more would he need to make to go take on the pressure of the NFL as a head coach when he loves recruiting? Yeah. He loves recruiting, to go deal with these free agents in the NFL that, don't have the same respect for the coach. It's a lot of drama. It's a lot of prima donna stuff. Not like the recruits in the 305 are not prima donnas, because a lot of them are. Sure. But at least it's recruiting. I think you made an excellent point. This could be just a destination job, that if you're winning here and you have all the money in the world that you need and the perks, and especially for Mario, because he's from here, why would you want to go if you're winning? I think especially if we get our own stadium and he puts his stamp on the stadium, Frank, I think I can say forget about it, because I think he's going to be here a long time, and let's hope that happens. If it,
Ray, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm going to play this, and then we'll talk about. Hey, let's listen to what he has to say.
We're back to Jacurri Brown. A lot of really interesting stats for you guys on Jacurri. He's nearly 10,000 yards in his career. Okay, 10,000 yards, 5,000 passing, 5,000 rushing, 100 touchdowns, over 100 touchdowns actually. Okay, a guy that not only the Region 7A, 1-7A Player of the Year in Valdosta, but it's for nearly every single year he was there, he took the team all the way to the semifinals. Okay, so here's a guy that knows how to win. He is loved by everybody in the school. It's the first thing that pops is not only his stature, his accomplishments, but his demeanor. He's got the presence of what you want from your quarterback, a guy that people naturally gravitate to. Hard-nosed football player, accurate, great pocket presence, can do it with his feet, can do it with his arm, natural throwing the ball. Again, very, very accurate. You always look at completion percentages. You eliminate the bubble passes, you eliminate the screen passes. What is he like throwing the ball down the field? He does that, and he's been a 4-year starter over there at a program. If you ever have a chance to watch great football and want to watch great football, stop by Lowndes High School. They do a great job. But again, a guy that we're thrilled to death that could look at competition right in the eye. He knows we have a competitive quarterback room, and he's running right to it. And
I
for
love that.
we thank him. We're honored to have him in our program. Okay, Chris Graves out of Fort Myers, Bishop Moreau, 6'2", 175 pounds. This is a guy that, he's coming in as a corner, but he impacts the game in all 3 phases. Long, instinctive, great ball skills, physical, natural tackler, natural with the ball in his hands, affects the game on special teams as well. Another top 247 player, another ESPN top.
Okay, I'm going to have to leave it here because we're going to be running out of time here. But
Okay.
you gave a great breakdown on all the players. And I just want to ask you, I'm going to share with you quickly my 2 biggest impact players, which are going to be Blissett. And I think that the edge rusher, Kelly. Okay, I know the corners, we have a huge cornerback room, and that's great. But I think Kelly's going to come in and be an instant starter at the end. And I think Blissett, I forget it. I can't spell it. Say
Saint. Yeah,
Saint. That's it. Saint. Exactly. Wesley Blissett and Kelly and Najik. Is it Najik?
It's Nigel Kelly. Yep.
I think those are the 2 most impactful players. Give me your 2.
Well, it's there's a little bit of a jury is out type thing because we don't know if we're going to get Coleman and we're going to get Shamar Stewart.
That's true.
But if we were to get either one of those 2 guys, I'm going with those 2 guys.
I agree.
If we get them both, I'm going with those 2. But for what we have right now, I agree with you 100% on the Saint and linebacker because that's a position of need and he's a special player in his own right. I talked to KB about this, Kevin Brockman, today. He told me his guy is Marquise Williams. And I asked him, what about the depth in the secondary? He said, it doesn't matter. This kid is just an animal. But you know what? I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna ride with you, Frank. I think Nigel Kelly's gonna come in and take over a position that we really don't have a tremendous impact player on right now. Chance Williams is a great player. Jafari Harvey, who started this year, good player. DeAndre Johnson with the transfer from Tennessee. Okay. I mean, do we have a lot of sacks from our edge rusher guys? I mean, most of the time it was Jade Severa or it was hey, Leonard Taylor. That guy is that guy's something else, man. I can't listen. How would you not want to come in and play? Can you imagine if we had Shamar Stewart come in and play alongside him, and then we have Nigel Kelly on the outside with the Jafari Harvey, and then those linebackers, and then the secondary that's bolstered with James Williams, Avante Williams, Cameron Kitchens, Tyreek Stevenson, maybe a Graves at the other corner. We haven't even talked about Al Blades. Does Corey Couch play? Does he get the portal when these kids come in?
Or Stevenson, because you're going to get Stevenson back.
No, I said Stevenson. I said
you did?
Tyreek.
Okay,
yeah. So is Kamari going to come in and play? Is he going to fight for position? There's a lot of kids now that are going to be fighting for competition. And remember one thing, Frank, pressure bust pipes. Mm-hmm. So, kids are going to come in, they're going to compete. We're going to see what we got. I'm with you. I think Nigel Kelly and Besaint, with the caveat that if Shamar Stewart comes and Kevin Coleman, those will be my 2 guys.
Well, let me ask you this before we go, and then we'll wrap up real quick, because this is intriguing. You get Kevin Coleman, okay, and you already have Horton, a 6'3" who averaged 20 yards per catch.
Yep.
Okay. This guy now, Now he's a deep ball threat. So he's an outside player. So you've got those two outside guys plus the exciting receiver core that you have. I mean, it's a dynamic team. And we're going to lose a couple guys in the portal. I guarantee.
I think Horton might be a guy we could lose, to be honest with you. I know he signed with us. I know he's going to come in and compete. But from Kevin's analysis and breakdown of him, he likes him. He doesn't love him. Like, he does a lot of things okay, a lot of things good. He's got great size. We already have a Romello Brinson, who is basically the same type of kid. We have Keyshawn Smith, who I love. That kid is amazing.
But he's a smaller.
He's smaller. No, Horton's a kid that if he puts a good size on, we're looking at somebody who's got a body that we haven't really seen at outside wide receiver. But just to tell you what I think, I mean, with the kids we already have here, I don't know. It's going to be a lot of competition. And with Coleman coming in, you've got Restrepo, you've got Brashard Smith, you've got Keyshawn Smith, you've got
George
Brinson, you've got Jacoby George.
Yeah, George.
There's a couple other kids that are there too that I can't think of right now. The rooms are starting to get crowded, and we're starting to see some serious depth for a program that hasn't seen depth like this in a while. If we can put that kind of depth on the offensive line and defensive lines, I think we're going to be cooking, Frank.
Now, the one that I think is going to be a surprise is Brashard Smith. He had a great year this year, and that guy's a blazer. That guy is he is lightning in a bottle. Along with Jacoby George, reminds me of Mark Clayton. He's hard to catch. He's quick.
He's hard to catch. He's going to be good. He's going to be much improved on punts, on punt returns. Brashard, I don't know if he's going to be a surprise, man. I think maybe they're going to start game planning for this kid after what he did against, was it NC State that he had a great game against?
He had a great game. He's a running back who can play receiver, who's got blazing speed.
No, they're going to put him in the slot. They're going to put him in the backfield. They're going to split him out wide.
Yeah.
What do you think about, Frank, the running back situation? You think that Don Chaney comes back in and wins a starting job, or do you think that Rooster has it unlocked? Do you think Thaddeus is going to play? What about Cody Brown?
I think that Thaddeus is going to play. I think Connolly will come back. I mean, Chaney will come back.
Yep.
And I think Chaney, I think he's the best back we have. Rooster, I think, is great. Rooster is great, but I don't want to have Rooster with 30 carries between the tackles in multiple games. That's going to have to be Franklin and Chaney taking the bulk of those hits. And Franklin Franklin's 6'2", 220 pounds. And listen, you're a strength guy. You're a fantastic strength and conditioning guy. Can you imagine what you do with a kid like that who comes in as a freshman, 6'2", 225 pounds, lower body strength that kid has with those legs, those thighs? And I mean, that you could build that guy up to, I mean, that guy.
I think he needs to actually drop a little bit of weight and enhance his body composition a little bit. I could see him playing around, 218, 215, 218. Still a very big running back, big running back, because remember, his pad level is very important. It's very important in college to have a low pad level, play with a low pad level. They have burst. I just don't know, after what Rooster did as a sample side, he was ACC offensive player of the week twice.
He's a starter.
But Chaney, like you said, he's the best running back. And if Mario is going to stay true, then the best players are going to play. And if Don Chaney proves what he proved going into this past year, that he was our best running back, that he could find that extra 2, 3, 4 yards and always falling forward. That's one thing Cam Harris unfortunately didn't do. It's either, 0, -1, 2, -1, or 70. We need those 6, 8, 7, 10-yard burst runs that Chaney was giving us, that Rooster gave us. And Rooster's quite the threat out of the backfield. Can you imagine a linebacking core that has to guard Brashard Smith and Rooster with the potential coming out of the backfield, plus the receivers, plus Mallory, plus Arroyo, and plus potentially Jaleel Skinner? Hey,
I got to tell you, Raymond, I think if Skinner comes on board, I think you're going to see Arroyo take more snaps. I also think this, with Chaney and the Rooster, what's going to happen is they're going to share snaps. You're going to see Chaney getting most of the snaps between the tackles. When they're spreading out the ball, they're running a sweep. You're going to see the sweep going to the Rooster to keep him fresh. And you might see a lot more screens for the Rooster, which is really what we need to do, get him out in the open field. But I think those two are going to get the majority of the snaps. I think I don't see what Brown didn't impress me that much. Franklin, I think he's got a lot of potential. But Chaney's the guy that gives you 2-3 yards in a cloud of dust, and they can take it 90 yards too.
Is Daddy a 5-star?
But he's got an ACL problem too. He's coming off an ACL, so that's going to be. So I wouldn't rush him back. Maybe you wait till he comes back in the summer and you wait and see what happens. But if you don't rush him back, then give Franklin those and let him split it with the Rooster, because
No, I agree.
can you imagine
I
if something happened to the Rooster? I mean, you can't, that's your most dynamic back, right now that's healthy, because Chaney can catch the ball too, but Rooster's got that quick twitch where he can stop on a dime, switch direction, and he can make a big play. You got to keep that kid healthy.
No, it was evident against North Carolina when he caught that screen pass and this made one cut and boom, he was gone to the house.
I love it.
It was amazing. Wasn't Thaddeus a 5-star running back coming out of?
Yes, Thaddeus was a 5, and Thaddeus, he doesn't look fast. He didn't look fast against the competition in Dade County because the competition is fast. But Thaddeus has good speed. He really does have really good speed. But he's what you were talking about. It's hard to bring him down, and he's got to get that field vision. He's got to learn the playbook. That's the big thing, and the blocking. He's got to be able to pass protect. And that's the big thing. But can you imagine if we get Skinner on top of all that? We bring in that and you run those 2 tight end sets with Arroyo and Skinner, because listen, I love Mallory, but he's not the fastest guy. He's got to, well, I shouldn't say that. He's pretty fast.
Straight line fast.
He's not the quickest guy. Doesn't have the lateral movement. And you get those 2 guys or those 3 tight ends, it would be hard to defend that when you're in the red zone. If you have those 3 huge tight end bodies, 6'6", 6'5", and 6'6".
Well, Arroyo reminds me of when Aaron Hernandez was in college. He reminds me of that tough, gritty kid, big body, fast. He just looked so natural when he caught the ball this year as a freshman. Did he not, Frank?
Oh, absolutely.
Just the way that the way his body moved, the fluidity of his body when he caught the ball and changed direction. He had a fumble against Georgia Tech, and we were really going in to put it on them. What a crazy game that was with turnovers for us. No, but I totally agree with you. I think that Thaddeus should be more of a perimeter player who can sneak in between the tackles. We feature Don Chaney in between the tackles, off tackle, power runs. And I think that with TBD, an offensive line only going to get better. By the way, we have one of the best offensive line coaches coming in.
Yes.
And you also notice that they didn't formally announce Alex Mirabal as offensive line coach yet. They only merely said he's going to join Mario. There's some things going on with the solidification of the staff, Frank, that I think Mario is just kind of, he's playing it close to the vest. You're going to see some announcements that are going to be coming out, and I would say probably within the next 2 weeks that solidify the staff. I think after Friday, you're going to see some dominoes fall over the weekend into early next week. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some staff members named, and when we go down our show, hopefully we'll have a chance to revisit and go over that.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate your contribution.
Thank you, Frank.
Always bringing it. God bless you, my friend. Let's go,
Yes.
Canes.
Let's go,
And
Canes.
we'll do it again.
We'll do it again. Have a
All
great
right, my
night.
friend. God bless.